Good afternoon again, everyone. A very warm welcome to all of you present. Today's virtual deal share live session is in partnership with Singtel, where we will be showcasing the 5 finalists from the Singtel Future Makers Programme. My name is Natasha Rinja. I'm the Manager, Capital Mobilization at AVPN. Before we begin, I would like to quickly run through a few housekeeping announcements. There will be polls after each presentation. Please indicate an option so that we can follow up accordingly. After each presentation, there will be a Q&A element. Please feel free to put in your questions in the chat box and we will attempt to raise your questions to the startups. We will have breakout rooms after all presentations are complete and you can interact further with the presenters there as well. To all attendees joining us today, we advise that you keep yourselves muted and your webcams switched off until the breakout room segment later on. During the breakouts, we encourage you to switch your cameras on so that everyone in the room can be as engaged as possible. For anyone who has technical difficulties, please feel free to send a private message to my AVPN colleague, Rachel, via the chat function. You may also find her in the chat drop down as one of the co-hosts. She'll be able to help you out. Do note that this session will be recorded for internal purposes. I want to thank you once again for joining us this afternoon, and we are very pleased to see that we have close to 60 people joining us already, and we look forward to an engaging discussion. Now I would like to invite Andrew Bui, Vice President, Group Sustainability, Singtel, who will be delivering an opening address. Over to you, Andrew.
Thank you, Natasha. Very good afternoon, everyone. Pleasure meeting you all. And thank you for joining us this morning or this afternoon, depending where you're calling from, for today's session, where we'll get to meet some of our finalists from our 2020 cohort. So my name is Andrew Bui. I'm the Vice President for the Singtel Group's Corporate Sustainability, and I'm also based in Sydney right now. So I just wanted to give you a very quick overview today of the presentation for the startup. So I think, is this being controlled or do I have control of that? Let me see. Okay. All right, so if I move to the next slide. Yes, so the Singtel Future Makers Programme, just to give you a bit of background, is a capacity building program that we launched in 2016. It was really born out of a need to try and address, social issues that we felt there was a role for technology and digital enablement. And it was a program set up where there are several components to that. On the one hand, we are providing funding support for these startups, but more importantly, it also comes with capacity building as well as connecting the social impact startups to the broader ecosystem of players, which we feel is very important for us to be able to help this impact startups either develop a commercial and sustainable operating model as well as to scale the nature of their business impact. If I move to the next slide. Okay. So, there's several reasons why we developed this program. In 2015, as we're engaging with our ecosystem, we identified that many of the non-profit organizations, the charities as you call them at that time, were struggling to transform. We found that it's still a very labor-intensive model for how the non-profit organizations would support or deliver service, whether from a social services or from a healthcare angle. There was a very low leverage of technology and digitalization. And when we look at the projection for the healthcare and the social services sector in places like Singapore and even parts of the region, we could foresee that there was going to be a challenge with the growing demand and yet a limited workforce. And we felt that the role of technology and digitalization would be quite instrumental in supporting not only the future, but the current needs of society. And we also came across a lot of great impact startups that were developing applications and technologies. There were many hackathons at that time, but after the initial competition, there was very little support, very little mentoring, very little opportunities for them to really continue to scale their opportunities, and we saw many of them did fail. So we saw this valley of death that we felt as a company playing in the technology space with a very strong social purpose. We felt that there was a role for us to bring the ecosystem together in order to support this very promising social impact startups. I move to the next slide. Okay, so over the last couple of years, we've been pleased to have worked with over 26 startups across a very diverse range of social impact sectors. Everything from supporting inclusion, disabilities, healthcare. We're seeing quite a lot leveraging IoT or Internet of Things technology that's leveraging into the space of healthcare and social impact. Even in the areas of education and empowerment, not just for beneficiaries, but even down to things like caregivers. And clearly, we also saw quite a lot in the health tech space that we felt was a very important emerging trend that we felt we could support as well. And this year, we actually have five startups, as Natasha mentioned, in our 2020 cohort. And if I move to the next slide, this year in particular, we're putting a very strong focus on further leveraging, our community of partners as we've always done in the approach towards solving for the social issues. We've always felt that, a very diverse range of partners from the private sector, the government agencies, social service agencies, and even connecting them with other startups becomes very important for their success. If I move to the next slide very briefly, it's really just to highlight, this year, the five startups that very shortly they'll present to you what they're focusing on. But more importantly, this year, we're putting a strong focus in what we call this concept of shared value. How do we bring, our business a lot closer to working with these startups and also creating that shared value in other forms of partnerships with players from around the table that's present here today. If I go to the next slide. Okay, so just a bit of the background to the journey that the five startups have gone through this year. We started off in August as we kicked off the session. The five startups in today's cohort, the five companies came from a long selection process that started earlier on in about March, April timeframe, where we had over 171 applications this year for a very strong set of applicants. We had a kickoff and where we will be sharing, different forms of shared value concepts, and subsequently we ran various curated workshops to help them further develop their proof of concept, the business model, help them identify the ranges of different forms of partnership and funding support that they could access within the ecosystem. And of course, through that period over the last couple of months, we've continued to have both mentors and coaches from both the Singtel business as well as from our broader network of partners. And over the last 2 months leading up to November, there's been a big focus on networking access to Singtel partners. And today, for example, a broader access to other business partners as well as our impact investors. Next slide. Okay, so today really the purpose of today's session is to allow our startups to join the dots and connect with a diverse range of partners, both investors, potential business collaborators, and in the subsequent session, breakout sessions, we would like to give you an opportunity to get to know them better. As you listen to their presentations, we'd like to encourage you to consider the broader social and healthcare issues that the respective startups are seeking to address, and how they may be connecting to your own organizational goals as well as focus. Also consider how the startup solutions might be complementary with your existing efforts and contributions in the social and healthcare sector. And finally, as a result of these complementarities, consider where might be the greatest opportunities for collaboration, partnership, or support for these startups as they are looking to achieve a greater social impact. So I'll just like to end off here by saying thanks again to everyone, and also our colleagues from NCS and Singtel Dash who have also come into the collaboration, a further form of shared value and business collaboration. I also like to thank many of our partners who've been with us for many years, the SG Enable, Quest Ventures, Raise, NUS Enterprise, some of our mentors, longtime mentors like Jeff, and also, for AVPN for organizing today's deal share event. So thank you very much, and I look forward to our discussions in the breakout later. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Andrew. And I think truly every time we gather for Singtel Future Makers Showcase and Demo Days, it always feels like a whole tribe coming together, all the way since 2016. And I want to give another shout out to Andrew, Enyao, Boon Chong, and all the different topical mentors from Singtel, including NCS and Dash as well. I think all the startups are very appreciative of you helping them to cross the chasm. And so a very warm welcome again to everyone here, our investors, our partners, governmental and NGO sector as well. This is the moment you've been waiting for. So very shortly, we'll hear from our 5 startups. The format is as such. They each have about 5 minutes to share their solutions and the problems they've been working on. Then followed by 4 minutes of question and answer. We invite you to unmute yourself to ask your questions directly, or we also welcome you to type in your questions in the chat even as they're pitching already. Comments and ideas are also welcome, not just questions. So 5 minutes pitch, 4 minutes questions. And then at the end, there's going to be a short poll for you to indicate if you're interested in following up with these startups separately. We will then do the link up for you after that. Now, you know that you already pre-indicated which breakout rooms you would like to join. And we would ask that you stick to those breakout rooms. However, the poll is your chance to indicate if you would like to be connected with them after today. So don't worry if you like the pictures and you think, hey, that's really interesting, we will definitely connect you after today. So be sure to indicate that in the poll. All right, so without further ado, I'm going to bring on our first startup. We have Keith, the co-founder of TicTag. Let's hear how TicTag helps to create micro jobs for vulnerable seniors, keep dementia at bay, and solve some issues for the AI industry. Over to you, Keith.
Hello, hi everyone. I'm Keith, co-founder and CBO of TicTag. To start off, I'd like to tell you 2 stories. The first is of the challenge in our community. In Singapore, a single person aged 65 and up needs at least $1,379 per month, and 40% of retirees actually fall short with this. The bottom 20% don't even have enough for their daily necessities. The other story is of our booming economy. Even despite this pandemic situation, firms are racing towards a new economic landscape of AI and supervised learning, a new normal to manage your bottom lines. Now, as these 2 stories come together, and as we rush towards a brighter future, we risk leaving behind the at-risk, vulnerable, and underprivileged. How do we want this story to end? And that's where we come in. TicTag was built for people like us. We take the pain out of data preparation and turn it into a game, then harness the power of crowdsourcing to produce clean, labeled data sets for companies to use, as well as creating a supplementary source of income for those who need it the most. Our flexible interface handles any data preparation task, and here are some of the more common labeling tasks required in the industry, all designed to fit nicely within the palm of your hands. We aim to power the most cutting edge of technology with quality AI training datasets at scale. Our clients' data needs are spread across different industries, such as image data for e-commerce and security companies, or bounding box labels for those focusing on autonomous vehicles. We're entering the market at a crucial time, since the burgeoning AI market faces a huge problem in data preparation, especially since 80% of a typical AI development cycle goes into preparing data. To stay true to our vision of empowering vulnerable demographics, we partner up with organizations to onboard a steady flow of at-risk seniors so that they too can benefit from TicTag. And that's why we are also here today to tell you a little more about TicTag and find partner organizations to work with. We know that if we distribute just 25% of our revenue out to our taggers as incentives, this will be equivalent to at least $8 an hour. And this $8 an hour is on top of other intangible benefits. Benefits such as financial independence that our taggers can achieve. Through the Singtel Future Makers Programme, we've been well connected and have made huge progress in both our business development and product roadmap. In just a short few months, we've come up with an entirely new design that is more elderly friendly and is more aesthetically pleasing. So this was before, and this is after. We've also partnered up with Cornerstone Services to perform a POC. It just happened last Friday, and it was hugely successful. So for Singtel Future Makers Programme, we set out 2 milestones for ourselves. Firstly, was to pilot a POC with a small group of 5 to 10 seniors to be selected by the partner organization, and expand in the first quarter of next year to 50 seniors across 5 Singtel Future Makers affiliated homes. And right now we're in milestone 1. So Cornerstone Senior Center is an integrated wellness center that promotes the overall well-being of seniors so they can age in peace. These are a few snapshots and memories from our time in Cornerstone Services. The team had a great time there, and this video of one of the seniors using our application. The seniors were given top 3 prizes. The activity was organized in a way that everybody was a winner. And the top 3 prizes were a neck massager, Brand's Chicken Essence, and finally, I think it was a movable, like portable fan. Yeah, everybody had a lot of fun. And here's even more images and some quotes from the seniors themselves. So the most memorable quote from us was actually from Ama Gimhui. Of course, that's not her real name. We censored out the name, but she actually said it in Chinese. She said, equivalent in Chinese, today we felt like we're doing something meaningful and contributing to the society instead of just waiting for our time. And everyone in the team had a great time, and we hope to continue to do these kind of volunteering opportunities and onboard seniors from these senior homes. Other than that, we actually signed an MOU with a community tasking app called Outside App SG. It's a local startup that has a community of underprivileged seniors, students, and senior students and unemployed. And through our partnership with them, we gain access to a crowd of 12,000 that we can immediately expand upon our services and offer a much larger scale to companies out there. Apologies. And of course, we can't forget, with AI and data growing more and more relevant due to recent events, the need for TicTag is right here and now, with a market size of $4.1 billion. And of course, we can't forget what the COVID-19 pandemic has done to the economy. Unemployment is going to be an issue for at least the next 3 years, and people will be grateful for a supplementary source of income, which you can get by playing our fun gamified mobile app. Lastly, my co-founders and I have diverse experiences in different areas, from sales, operations, and engineering, while all having that common experience that we know that we're dealing with in AI, with more than 20 years of experience between us. We're looking to raise 17% at a $5.8 million post-money valuation, and let's have a discussion about it later. With that, we hope that, apologies. With that, we hope that we can enable everyone to benefit from good data and the good that data can bring. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for that, Keith. And I think we certainly saw a lot of good that you did with your Cornerstone pilot there. So congratulations for bringing some smiles, warmth, and purpose to our seniors there as well. Now, this is the time for you to ask some questions. And of course, if you are going into the breakout rooms with TicTag later, as per your indication, then we can go even deeper. If you take a look at the chat today, the 3 questions that Natasha had posted, what you'll be seeing is that we will have the startups have pre-designed 3 questions that they think they want to ask you actually, in terms of how they hope you can help them, in terms of your ideas, your tips, your suggestions. So while we're waiting perhaps for some questions from the audience to come in, Keith, maybe you did share a little bit about your partnership with Outside and your recent pilot with Cornerstone. What would be most helpful for you right now to take your startup to the next stage? What's your wish list, essentially? What's your ask, your broader ask to the audience?
Well, right from the start, TicTag was founded with a strong social impact in mind, and we're hoping to onboard seniors or the underprivileged from partner organizations. And the Cornerstone POC, for example, I think it benefits the team a lot to go down there and see for themselves who are benefiting. And it's a really fun activity, and everybody enjoyed themselves. And for our business, it also benefits us a lot because we get to onboard all these kinds of seniors onto our platform to serve as crowd workers for meaningful experience in tagging our data sets for companies, as well as providing them a supplementary source of income.
So what would it take to scale your impact further? Do you need more referrals to this underprivileged group, seniors and otherwise, or do you need more funding, or do you need more data labeling opportunities on the client side?
Definitely, we need. Okay, so of course we need more seniors and we need more money. So On the first part, more referrals towards these organizations are definitely something we're looking into. We're currently in talks with Touch Community Services. I think we want to further those talks. And anybody else in the audience who is part of a social organization, we'd love to talk. Secondly, we're currently raising our seed funding round. We've closed our seed funding round structured in two parts, so 1A and 1B. And I think we can discuss that a little later. We're currently in 1B, so we've closed a certain amount already, and we're looking for a certain amount more and looking for partner investors to come on.
Lovely. I have a few questions for you in the chat. So the first one is, are you planning to broaden the beneficiaries to people with disability as well?
Definitely. So physical disability is something that we're definitely looking towards. People who are wheelchair bound or aren't mobile and enough to find normal jobs. TicTag represents a very good opportunity for them to come on and gain that source of income and financial independence for them.
So long as they have a device in hand and they can click and recognize images and label it easily, that's anyone is possible, right?
Exactly. TicTag was really made for anybody to use. So anybody who has at least like a secondary school education and is capable of wielding a mobile phone can use TicTag.
Right. And Tilian has a question. Is this specific to Singaporean beneficiaries?
We're looking, no, definitely not. We're looking to go global. We already established a subsidiary in Korea, and we already have tigers in Manila. So definitely any country is okay to us.
So open to global referrals, which is great because we have a very large crowd of regional participants here. And okay, many questions. How much of your data collection can actually leverage off seniors? Is it highly dependent on the types of data tagging required by your client? So I guess they're saying, is the data tagging very complex? How much of that can actually leverage off seniors?
Well, we're definitely still exploring that point at the moment. We're not sure about the capability of seniors, especially the ones that we are first working with. But seniors are definitely able to do the more simple tasks. If it's simply swiping on the phone, that's something we call image classification, or maybe drawing bounding boxes around images. So like tapping on the screen and dragging across just to highlight a certain portion of the image, that's easily capable by seniors. And that's actually most of what the industry requires. So a large portion of our tasks on TicTag can be done by seniors.
I'm going to group the next two questions together. What are the constraints? I mean, you said true, if anyone has a device that can do drag, drop, boundary boxing, are there any constraints, for example, vision, mobility, are there any constraints at all? Who might not be suitable for TicTag solution?
Well, I wouldn't discount anybody right off the bat, but I say for very simple tasks, even for very simple tasks, if someone isn't able to kind of see the screen, or like if they are, for example, very late stage Alzheimer's patients, that's one target group that we haven't targeted so far. I'd say those are the ones that would have more trouble with our UI, especially on a mobile phone. But I think the vast majority of our tasks is doable by almost anybody.
Yeah, it does sound like something that is very diversely applicable indeed. So final question, and you answered it a bit earlier. Are you interested in Vietnam market?
Oh, yes. Actually, yes. We're part of this accelerator called Vietnam Startup Wheel. We're flying there in November, actually. So I heard many good things about the burgeoning AI market in Vietnam, and especially about the smartphone demographics there. So like, I think even in the rural areas, it's like 70% have smartphones. So we're really definitely looking forward to go to Vietnam. Just as how we went to Korea like just a couple of months back. So yeah, TicTag is going global, and we hope to see you there.
TicTag is going global, and they hope to do it with you. So Fam, I suppose you can connect after this. All right, so we've run out of time for the other questions. Do ask it when you get connected separately, or if you get into the breakout room with Keith, that's where you can ask those questions. All right, so let's bring up the poll then. The poll is just a simple indication of interest. Yes, no, I will highly encourage that you say yes if there's even a remote interest or potential for collaboration, because what we would do on the back end is really connect you where you can then go into your private conversations. And there's no limit to how many times you can say yes to the startup. So you can say yes 5 times in all the 5 polls. All right. Very, very good. All the questions are coming in. We'll just give a few more seconds for people to respond to the poll. I think people are asking if they get a copy of your presentation.
Oh, yes. I'll export it to PDF and send it over to Clarice.
Right. So I think via AVPN, we might be able to send it to you.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Thank you. Lovely. Sounds like it's a lot of interest. And I think, Keith, you can also take a look at the questions in the chat, and you could also choose to respond to them privately or in the group otherwise.
Okay.
All right, lovely. So thank you so much again. That was Keith from TicTag. Thank you. So next up, we have Cassandra, co-founder of GenConnects, going deeper into the theme of dementia with a holistic assessment and personalized platforms. Over to you, Cassandra.
Hi, let me share my screen. Can you guys see it?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm just gonna start. Every 3 seconds, someone in the world develops dementia, and the number will only keep increasing with our aging population. So by the time I end this presentation, 100 people would have developed the condition. This is my grandpa, Akong. He once forgot how to come home, and it was a home that he had lived in for the past 50 years. So this made me want to do something for him, but I eventually realized that the problem was much bigger than that. And that is why we are here to revolutionize the dementia ecosystem. I am Cassandra, a President PhD scholar in Imperial College London, and also the co-founder of GenConnects. 10 years from now, 82 million people are expected to develop dementia, and the world will spend $2 trillion diagnosing and treating them. And these numbers are also expected to double every 20 years. So it is very important to slow down the deterioration of the condition. And from all of my experiences with senior care, I realized that they did not have the right products for rehab. They were using children's toys even in large major hospitals. Secondly, there is a lack of automated and personalized assessments. Assessments are currently done manually right now in a paper and pen format. And without automation, it cannot be more personalized or done in as much depth as they would like to, trickling down to affecting the quality of care. Thirdly, a lack of group analysis prevents further understanding of problem areas and recommendations in population groups, which can help the seniors. At GenConnects, our mission is to improve the lives of seniors with dementia and their caregivers by providing holistic and efficient rehab. Our games are designed with dementia and seniors in mind. Secondly, we also provide real-time insights as well as personalized recommendations for seniors. Instead of having to do assessment tests manually, creating graphs to track trends, this can automate the entire process, saving hundreds of man-hours each year per institution while providing better in-depth insights. And thirdly, with group analytics, healthcare professionals will be able to identify problem areas to address with different population groups through a simple click of a button. To date, we have created a range of physical rehab tools derived from research collaborations that have been well received by our clients, and we have a range of healthcare institutions using them. I'm sorry. Some of our clients actually purchased them before we even launched. But through the provision of all of these tools, we learned three main things. Firstly, we learned that assessments could be done in the form of a game. It could be fun and engaging rather than boring and monotonous. And secondly, digital games could not only cater to institutional needs, but also enable the early detection of 60% of everyday seniors at home, allowing them to be linked up to service providers and pharmacological companies to prevent decline. And thirdly, basic starting salaries for live-in healthcare assistants can be as low as $350 a month. So these are very tight budgets that institutions have to work within. Technology can provide time savings and improve quality of care while engaging seniors. Rehabilitation is an important component of person-centered care, but rehab with diagnostics is our main goal. We will be moving some of our products gameplay digital, converting them into a diagnostics tool. Diagnostics research has a high barrier of entry, but it is where one of our core strengths are. We can build state-of-the-art assessment methods and also leverage on our partnerships with universities and hospitals to ensure a gold standard assessment. Our solution aims to help healthcare institutions save time through an affordable gamified gold standard assessment, allowing for in-depth individual and group analysis without needing an occupational therapist and a data analyst to do this task manually. Our B2B model will provide digital games for seniors to play and an accompanying application for healthcare staff at a subscription rate that is affordable at just $20 per assessment. Some of the other ways we can reach the market also includes licensing models and plugins to existing digital games for seniors. Senior occupational therapists have said that our rehab games are much better than what's in the market, and the head of Allied Services said that they would appreciate the tracking of cognitive performances. We are also very grateful for the positive traction we have gotten so far. To date, we have received support to develop the product and hire low-income individuals. And a professor in Germany has also obtained funding to test our physical rehab games. We are looking for further funding and mentorship to run clinical trials for our digital assessments. Press-wise, we have been featured across multiple national newspapers across Southeast Asia, and we have also won international awards where past winners were like Apple's original iPhone. And even as an undergraduate, I've presented on global conferences, but it was then when I realized that what we could do for seniors was still stuck in research, and that was how GenConnects was formed. For the team, Esther works on data analytics and I handle the research and business components. Robert, who is a psychiatrist and professor specializing in cognitive impairment, has just agreed to be our chief medical officer. And together, we are fighting against a disease that robs us of our loved ones' most precious gift, their memories. And I hope that you can join us on this fight towards a better world for all seniors with dementia. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Cassandra. We can certainly hear the passion in your voice, inspired by a personal journey. And of course, dementia is a very personal condition, so we definitely need to do better in offering more personalized assessments. Right, so again, question time. We want to make sure that we maximize as much time for your questions to be answered, your ideas, your tips. So please start popping it into the chat. You can also unmute yourself if you would like to ask Cassandra directly. Well, Cassandra, maybe a starting question from me. Again, what is the greatest barrier that you have right now ahead of you that you hope to overcome? And what help do you need to overcome that?
So the greatest barrier that we have right now actually is the funding for the clinical trials. We have gathered the right partners. We're intending to work with A-Star or NTU to run the clinical trials. We also have the medical expertise on board, which is Robert, who just joined us as our chief medical officer. Apart from that, we have also gathered partners where we would like to test the studies with. We have quite a few interested partners from St. Joseph's Home, Liamoy Nursing Home, and even Singhealth as well. And yeah, I think the funding is the most important component because without that, we cannot actually go ahead with applying for the ethics and then subsequently running the trial.
Is there a chance that you can get funding from this, apart from this academic routes as well? For the private investors, impact investors in the room, is there a role for them to play?
Yeah, definitely. So we are actually looking for different sources, whether it's with regards to equity or grant or even the different academic approaches that we are kind of going through right now. So we are actually quite open to the different approaches. Yeah.
Great. Okay. Genevieve has a question. How do you source or create your diagnostic games? Do you do it in-house or do you have a network of developers?
So there is two components. First part will be the design and development of the tool. So that part would actually be done by both me and Robert, together with some of the experts from A-Star or NTU. Then after we actually do up the design and the development, doing iterations and testing to ensure that, okay, this might be a viable tool. Then we will start the development of the application. So we have a few game developers and AI, people who specialize in AI and cognition to develop the solution that we will actually be outsourcing for. We have obtained some initial grant funding from various sources like Raise, the Venture for Good, to develop the solution. So we have enough runway for the development of the solution and the iterations to ensure that, you know, this would be the first finalized version of the first tool that we could use before we would move on to the clinical trials. So what we're actually looking for really is partners as we move on to the next component, as we do the clinical trials and subsequently start to launch it within the network.
Right. So it's a nice close collaboration between in-house curation and expertise as well as outsourced development, right, of the actual games. Are there similar products in the global market?
So the current products that are in the market right now varies quite a bit. They do not have automation of the gameplay. So what is generally done is they would take a physical assessment tool, which is in a paper and pen format. They digitalize that version, but you still need a care staff who has been trained in occupational therapy, who has been trained in doing the conducting the tool to execute the assessments. So there is quite a lot of barriers of entry to actually do this. What we are really trying to do is to automate that process whereby you don't need a staff who is trained to physically do it one by one. And we're planning to make this as accessible and scalable as possible.
Right. So automation is not really present in the market. And of course, you're moving towards diagnostics, which is an even higher bar. Right,
yeah. And the thing about all of these current tools, right, is that they would generally categorize seniors into one stage of dementia. So for example, with one tool, let's say they actually categorize it based on numbers, but let's assume it's 1 to 4. 2 seniors in stage 3 would have the same score, but they would have deficiencies in different areas. So one might have problems with visual spatial cues, whereas another might have problem with attention. And these are actually not addressed because no one actually goes down to actually do the assessments for all the different cognitive domains. So what we can do is to automate that process, get that information much more accessible to not only the care staff, but also the family caregivers at home. And this way, it first begins with understanding the problem before you can actually address it with a solution. So I think these are the two most valuable benefits that we can provide for them. And apart from this kind of solutions, most of the current interventions are always targeted towards a B2B side. For us, our solution can not only cater to the B2B side, but also to the B2C side, where it's currently untapped. 60% of seniors are undiagnosed at home, and they often wait until it's a very late stage before they go and seek intervention help. By then, they would have possibly forgotten how to go home, like my grandpa, or, you know, at that point where you're already close to moderate stage dementia. So there's so much you can do right at the start by identifying the problem first. It is also in MOH incentive to identify them earlier so they can seek help. Yeah,
absolutely. You want to be a little much ahead of the curve, right? And the personalization is a huge part of the effort. A lot of good questions in the chat. Now, Desmond had one on, well, one of the key challenges in product development for persons with dementia is that universal design and barrier-free design don't apply. So you have, for example, you have an extensive range of niche requirements, assuming person-centered care is the goal. So how do you see yourself overcoming this?
Yeah, let me read the question.
It's a bit of a complex question. I think
Okay, so I would say that the tool, right, would not cater to everyone for all stages of dementia. If you're working with someone with moderate dementia, there are a lot of cognitive deficits that they would not be able to use, you know, the tool on their own. So they would actually have someone like a family caregiver to be able to guide them. There is quite a bit of challenges of getting seniors at the later stage to do this automatically on their own. But for us, we are planning to not only cater to the early and the moderate stage, but also people pre-dementia stage as well. Yeah. So
right.
I don't think any solution can really hit the whole range of dementia. We have to ensure that the tool that we create is highly specific and sensitive, such that we can ensure that quality there and still ensure that the market that we reach is large enough to capture.
Yeah, the delicate dance between
being
niche enough, but yet scalable enough, right? For sustainability's sake. Last question, who would own the IP? Let's say A-Star, would you have it jointly or wholly with the company?
Yeah, so that depends on funding. So IP is something that I think is very valuable, and I have been talking to many lawyers on this. So I have a pretty clear idea on IP. If we were to have our own sources of funding and we were to engage NTU or A-Star as our contractor, then we would be able to negotiate for IP actually belonging to us. So that is possible. But if we do not have funding, then we would have to come in as a partner with A-Star and NTU, and this is where we will negotiate. So a likely scenario for this is where the foreground IP would belong 50-50 to GenConnects and the Institute. Yeah, so I think that's why we are looking for funding so that we can engage them.
It boils down to the money, so please talk to them separately. Okay, great. We have run out of time for questions, so please park the questions for the breakout room or for the separate connection. Now the poll again, yes or no? We hope that's going to be a yes, judging from the influx of questions coming in. Right. And again, startup founders, you can also directly respond to the questions in the chat, okay, even after you're done with your pitch. Great. Okay, so yes, no, we will connect you. Lovely. I believe that we should be more or less done with the poll by now. Okay. All right. Okay, and next up, all right, thank you again. That was Cassandra, co-founder of GenConnects. Right, next up we have George. George, who is the CEO and founder at Senzehub. Let's take a look at how their very particular brand of wearables will help detect vitals and help give early intervention to seniors and give us peace of mind on behalf of our loved ones. So over to you, George.
Thanks, Romeo, so much. Hi, I'm George, founder and CEO of Senzehub. We actually are focused on digital health with connected hardware. And that's because preservation of life is the only true joy. And we are also doing predictive analytics in healthcare once we have enough data. This is what we do in a nutshell. We are presently in a confined facility in a government agency under non-disclosure. They've been using us to monitor their users. Also into a nursing home somewhere in Upper Thomson. And we are awaiting the outcome of a welfare home through IMDA. So you want to go out the plan is to have a control command center where it's able to monitor seniors either at home or in a centralized location. It could even be community integrated care in an ambulance on the way to the hospital, someone that's been discharged recently from the hospital, or even alone at home. We are able to detect the vital signs and give early warning alerts. This is just a quick background of what Israel is doing in 2018. The Prime Minister actually allocated 300 million to do something similar, right? And they actually detect seniors at home, but using Wi-Fi. And that's because preservation of elderly lives is of utmost importance, especially receiving alerts in their time of need. Our journey started in 2018 when I saw actually in 4 hospitals the work that nurses were doing, taking vital signs manually, and we thought that it could be automated. We took part in the IoT challenge at the national level against research institutes and universities, and we won 2 rounds of funding, both in terms of proof of concept and full development. Right. This is a problem. Large-scale monitoring, especially during COVID and even post-COVID. How do you know that someone is ill, having fever, breathing difficulty, or abnormal heart rate in a centralized location? It's just not possible with the present wearables out there because they require one-to-one phone pairing. You cannot obtain data from them for dashboard and alerts. This is what we do in a nutshell. We monitor temperature, which is fever, heart rate, oxygen level in the blood for breathing difficulty. And it's actually very high depth in the sense that it covers both the residents, the patients, and even caregivers to have peace of mind. It decreases treatment costs, faster recovery, and longevity. And as you know, Singapore is one of the fastest aging population in Asia, and we are projected to hit about 3 million of seniors above the age 60 by the year 2050. Right, this is just some stats very quickly. Number 3 of expenditure in Singapore is on health. Our healthcare spending hit about 13 billion in the year 2020, which is this year. And what we do actually covers seniors above 60 plus, either aging in place in their own homes or in nursing home. And I jokingly tell my co-founder that's basically everyone that's not already in hospital. A team of 10, full-time and part-time, myself, Andrew, Ethan, and a few advisors, and also Dr. Brian, who's a collaborator at A-Star. What we do in a very quick snapshot is large-scale monitoring, up to 30,000 users in a single site for location and even for alerts. We are looking at later on to do clinical trials to be a class B, blood pressure and ECG also at the enterprise level for multi-users monitoring, as you can see on the dashboard here. Right, this is actually the schematic of the technology that's used. It's very hardware, firmware, and software intensive. Right, this is 2 snapshots of the upper side, which is more nursing homes and government agency, and at the bottom is then more of the seniors at home with a centralized location for alerts. How we are different is that Fitbit, Garmin, and the rest do single users. We do multi-users, either at the seniors at home or as a large enterprise solution. We have raised about 190,000 for R&D and presently funded for another 3 projects. This is one of the areas that we are going into in Bedok itself, and some press coverage in the past. And we are actually moving more into digital health with research also, so that it's able to predict based on age group, male, female, or even race, because Singapore is multiracial, and this has applications for pharma companies and government elsewhere. Market is about 110 billion, of which we feel that we can tackle about 800 million in some of these countries listed. Revenue model is actually short-term, medium-term, and long-term in terms of where we can take it. Right, this is all we have for today, and we thank you for your time. And our goal is everyone who needs will have a wearable in order to prolong life as we know it. Thank you.
Thank you, George. And in order to keep us all out of the hospitals, right? By being your potential clients. All right, questions from the floor. We love your questions. Please start keying them in and I'll ask them. Well, for starters, George, you have many ambitious plans. What is your priority right now? And of course, we also saw two tracks. There's a B2B, say via nursing homes, and there's of course the larger B2C market. How are you planning to perhaps say approach the B2C market?
Okay, so we are actually active and doing projects for both in the government agency, the nursing home, and also the seniors at home. We are actually split into two teams. Andrew, my co-founder, actually takes care of the seniors at home while I take care of the enterprise space, which we've been doing for a while now. And the focus at the moment is in terms of execution. So we have live projects, we are being paid to do that. And we just want to make sure that it goes very well, people like it, and then word of mouth will get through to the other nursing homes and the middle income who will buy it for their parents.
And that relates very nicely to Diana's question. There are a number of wearables measuring several biomarkers out there. How is your product differentiated from those?
Okay, so nearly every single wearable out there, including Fitbit, Garmin, and Apple, is a one-to-one pairing with a mobile phone. We built it as an IoT system whereby it's large scale, up to 30,000 users in a single location, multiple floors, multiple buildings. We are able to detect and display for, let's say, a healthcare facility, a nursing home. At the moment, as we know it, there's no comparable solution out here, at least in Southeast Asia, that can do more than one user at one time, which requires a mobile phone.
All right, so the IoT is a huge differentiator because you need to alert people, whether it's caregivers or the nursing staff, right? Now, Desmond has a question. He says that, however good your solution is, usually there's going to be 10% who are asymptomatic and they essentially present themselves in a crisis in a way that your wearable cannot catch, right? In healthcare, this 10% could be a life on the line. So how will you solve this problem?
I think there are two things that we need to ensure. One is the adoption and the compliance. So anyone who needs it should be able to afford and have one, and we are making it very low cost. The second is that some of these are early indicators, such that when we know a baseline of someone's vital statistics, it may not be a sudden jump, but it could be a gradual change, a trend that actually on the back end, we will know that there's something not right. The heart rate is actually dropping slightly every day. Let's rush in for an MRI or even a CT scan. So we are not waiting until it happens, but we are looking at the trends, and with the analytics in place together with a research institute, I think we will get there one day. And this is something that's also being done by Stanford and a few others just for prediction of COVID, which we are not doing at this point of time because I don't think we have the capability, and we want to be focused more on the long term of what we can achieve.
Right. So in really kind of understanding each person's individual baseline and analyzing their own stats over a period of time, you're able to kind of detect what is considered to be an aberration for them, and hopefully that translates to early intervention for them. But of course, for the really extreme edge cases, unfortunately, over time, the whole system will become smarter as well.
Yeah, and then one of the things that we hope to achieve is that with enough data set, which we need informed consent, we could actually do predictive both by age group, by chronic disease, and even by race, because genetics is involved. So there's a lot of research that could be done from the data, and we are hoping to have that available, but not to sell it to, I hope there are no insurance companies here, but more for the good of mankind.
Right. So in terms of priority, what's in the pipeline next?
Okay, the pipeline is that we have 3 live projects that are being paid for that we need to roll out, and it's being supported by 2 government agencies. And if we do well, I think it's just going to take off in Singapore, and then we will go into Hong Kong, Australia, and maybe even Japan.
And how can this group support you, knowing that we have impact investors, corporates, government partners, NGO partners?
My biggest challenge is whoever is interested, come talk to me, share my vision, and we figure it out together. Money is not going to solve everything. It does help, but share the vision, and we see how we can work together with Singtel, with, I don't know, the Australian government health, and so on. Whoever is interested in what we do, it has big potential and has a great impact for longevity. Thank you.
Spoken like someone in the field of healthcare indeed, right? Very intercollaborative.
And there is actually a good reason we are doing this, because I will be old if I'm not already. So I'm trying to take care of myself in the future too.
Thank you, George. I mean, you're really stepping forward. Take one for the team and your peers and seniors moving forward. Well, thank you again, George. That was George from Senzehub. And let's bring up the poll right now. And again, of course, we hope there's a yes, no limit to how many yeses you can have. And as George says, he would love to explore privately to work out something that you can partner together on collaboratively, because this is a very large and complex issue. And it will only get worse as the years go by, especially with our aging population. All right, so we'll just leave the poll on for a few more seconds for people to respond. And again, just a general reminder that even as the startups are pitching, before they end their 5 minutes pitch, you can already start putting in your questions so we get as many of your questions answered as possible. And in case we don't, not to fret, that can be answered in the breakout rooms. All right, so next up, we have Victor, who is the CEO of Fairmarch, moving away from aging, healthcare, and seniors into inclusivity and a platform to make buying and shopping for good easy at the same time. Over to you, Victor.
Thanks, Romy. Thanks, everyone, for your attendance today. My name is Victor Swa, and I run Fairmarch, an online marketplace for impact businesses. So basically what we do is we help consumers and corporates shop and feel good while doing good. Sustainable consumption is here to stay. It's already here, and consumers are willing to pay up to 20% more based on studies from Statista. And in addition to that, studies by McKinsey have also found that the Gen Z, especially the Gen Z and millennials, are especially engaging in sustainability, whether it's through their consumption purchases or when they find a company to work for. And companies that champion sustainability not only succeed, but they're also the most innovative and resilient. And many others are beginning to recognize that sustainability is key to remain in the forefront. Doing good is good for business. And what's the problem we're trying to solve? Well, social enterprises in Asia are both very fragmented and undifferentiated from their competitors. And as a customer, when you're trying to be a potential impact shopper, you're looking for products through Google because there's no centralized platform for you to shop for, right? So individual websites, up to the 5th website, you already give up because there's too much work. Even if you find a website, you've realized that the social enterprise does not have an e-commerce function. Another reason to drop out. And what we realized is that a lot of impact organizations are really product focused, not necessarily marketing focused at this moment. And it's a two-sided value proposition that we try to bring. First, we make shopping for good easy and safe. At the same time, we help our vendors or impact organizations to differentiate themselves by being on Fairmarch, while at the same time helping them to build their brands in their BD efforts, in customer service, and making it easy to connect to their customers. And at the same time, we also leverage on the credibility of our partners, of the entire ecosystem, and help customers to distribute their shopping to various social causes through the diverse organizations that we work with, including nonprofits, local SSAs, social enterprises, even ground-up initiatives. In terms of positioning, we are in an advantageous position where we are very clearly differentiated with sustainability at our core, while at the same time remain very scalable. And I would even go as far as to say that our target market is substantially bigger than the handicrafts market, a vintage market that Etsy is competing in, a very successful marketplace, by the way. And in fact, our model is already present in the US. Our counterpart there, or a competitor there, potential competitor there, already has 1 million visits per month. So it's up to us in Asia to replicate this success. We pivoted to an online marketplace in March 2020, and we're focusing on our B2B2C strategy with minimal ad spending. So we're already monetizing, for everyone's information. Typical commission rate is 15% per transaction for each sale on our platform. We also do corporate sales, corporate gifting, but more importantly, we further help corporates engage their employees as well as their partners and customers in our CSR activities through, for example, on hosting online bazaars on our website. Our products are diverse and include the most popular fashion and accessories, toys, home and living products. We're recently trying to expand into the F&B area, and we're doing a dry run in the next few weeks. In terms of traction, we've experienced strong financial growth in 2019, and we remain resilient this year. Even this is in spite of the fact that the first 6 months was the peak of COVID-19, and we literally had zero sales then. In spite of that, our gross merchandise volume has almost doubled since October versus the full year of 2019. Our web traffic is also growing rapidly, as well as the product variety that's being listed on our platforms. Corporates are buying from us. These include big corporates, SMEs, government organizations, and they're also finding us on Google. As part of our B2C strategy, we actually have a few projects that we're very excited about lined up for December this year till 2021, including the Big Four Christmas Bazaar that we'll be hosting in December. And this is a great way for us to not only drive sales and traffic, but also help to remain financially sustainable through project fees and help get our partners to help us market and build our brand, while helping our partners to also educate their employees, their customers, as well as our customers. We hope to catch up again after further discussion. And also, they enjoy working with us because we bring convenience, quality, and legitimacy through an efficient channel. Our total available market in Singapore is quite decent at 40 million this year. And as e-commerce rapidly grows in Singapore to 7 billion in the future, we are foreseeing around 210 million market size, which we are hoping to really tap and ride on the wave. In Southeast, we're not planning to be forever remaining in Singapore. We have very strong motivations to expand into Southeast Asia. We're already in talks with our counterparts, for example, the Philippines and Thailand, through linking up by Singtel and Social Collider. And the markets there is definitely much bigger. We're just riding the wave of sustainability to grow rapidly, while at the same time accelerating the transition. So to summarize our my presentation today, we operate in an undifferentiated and a large marketplace with impact at our core, which makes it very difficult for generalist platforms to replicate, while at the same time, we have a highly scalable business model. And to us, scalability of the business equals scalability of impact. And we've shown some quite robust traction within the last few months alone. And just to call out to everyone, all the potential investors or collaborators, we have the potential to substantially accelerate social and environmental sustainability. And we're not-
I'm gonna jump in here a little bit because we only have 3 minutes left for Q&A, and you have a few good questions in the chat. So let's get to that, right? Firstly, in terms of vendor curation and quality, how do you choose which vendors to partner with, and how do you ensure their quality?
That's a great question. So we work with legitimate and credible partners like Raise, Social Collider, B Corps, and they help to vend the first phase. And in addition to that, we do engage in talks regarding compatibility with the potential vendors or impact organizations.
So it's pretty much a deep dive. You talk to them in depth to make sure, and you probably have certain consistency in how you rate quality.
Yes, that's right.
If you're interested, you can probably speak to Victor separately about this. Yep. And can buyers rate the vendors similar to Etsy?
Not at the current volume. We already have that function, but we have not enabled it yet.
Okay, so it's just a matter of enabling it when you reach a certain scale.
Yeah.
Okay. And Wei Long from Community Chess asked that for B2B, they have corporate partners going directly to the social service agencies already. So how would you value add above and beyond to those social enterprises?
Well, the thing about corporate gifting with SSAs right now is there's a lack of product variety. For example, the recent craze in care packages, we've really leveraged on that by combining various different organizations, product offerings. And in addition to that, we also go beyond simple corporate gifting by helping partners engage their employees as well as their customers. For example, through our collaborations with the big four audit firms, as well as Singtel Dash and DBS.
Right. I suppose also beyond, let's say, you know, for example, if corporates already know of certain partners, they go straight to them. In that case, perhaps your value add is not as significant, but you can help them reach out to new customers, for example, that they don't already have links to.
Well, at the same time, we also do B2C because it is an online marketplace. And it's really convenient for our vendors, especially, to tap both corporates as well as B2C under one simple to use platform. Right. And it's very concentrated. It helps with their brand building as well.
Yeah. And on a related note for B2C, how do you actually reach out to those socially conscious consumers, many of whom are probably in this room? How do you reach out to these consumers out of the many other marketplaces out there, including other social enterprise marketplaces?
Well, great. So basically right now what we're doing is through corporate as well as government collaborations, helping them to add value to their socially conscious customers or partners by helping them to engage them further through a tailored shopping experience, a diverse and convenient and easy shopping experience with a lot of credibility in the platform, inherently built in the platform. So it's value add for collaborators as well as their customers.
Right. So it sounds like you're going to, let's say, your big four partners, when they hold the Christmas bazaar, they will then spread the word for you to these other C customers as well, right? The ordinary consumers.
Yes, absolutely.
Interesting. And I want to add that all of us here today, I suppose that word of mouth could come from us as well. So that's another B2C strategy there. Well, I guess we've run out of time, but Christmas is just around the corner. So hopefully it's very timely in directing some of our shopping dollars for good towards Fairmarch and your socially conscious and responsible vendors. So once again, the poll is up. Do indicate if you would like to explore further. Perhaps for you, that's connecting them to your corporate gifting departments and dollars. It could be your own interest as a retail consumer, or maybe you can also do what the big fours are doing, help partner with Fairmarch to bring bazaars to your workplaces, virtual or otherwise. And you can bring on your own vendors as well, even if they're not currently on the platform already. Right.
Okay.
Thank you so much again, Victor, from Fairmarch.
Look forward to hearing from you all. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, the fifth of all our startups, that would be Alan, who's head of business development at Wiz.Ai. Let's check out how they use a conversational warm AI bot with the NLP strengths to strengthen our healthcare sector without adding on to the workload. Over to you, Alan.
Thanks, Romy. Hi, everyone. Let me just turn on my video.
Yes, that would be great.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Alan from Wiz.Ai. I'd like to share with you how our conversational talkbot, AI Nurse, can help medical professionals remotely monitor patient health. Oops, not changing. Right, so I prepared a short video to show how our AI Nurse actually works. So just let me play this video.
Good morning. This is Yain calling from Hospital Gynecological Cancer Center. May I speak with you, please?
Yeah, this is.
This is a reminder call that you have a chemotherapy appointment with us tomorrow at 12:30 p.m. May I confirm if you are coming?
Actually, yeah, I will be able to attend.
Thanks for confirming. I just have a few routine questions for you. Can I check if you have any symptoms of viral syndrome such as fever, cough, sore throat or runny nose right now?
No, I don't have any of the symptoms.
Okay. Due to COVID-19 regulations, can I also check that over the past 2 weeks, do you come into contact with anyone who contracted COVID-19 or was put on stay-home notice or quarantine for it?
No, there isn't any also.
Alright. Did the doctor give you a medication called dexamethasone for you to take before your chemotherapy?
What is dexamethasone?
This medication helps to prevent allergic reactions due to chemotherapy. Were you given a medication called dexamethasone to be taken before your chemotherapy?
Oh, that medicine. Yes, I did.
Please remember to consume it twice, once 12 hours before and the other 2 hours before the chemotherapy treatment. This medication would help to prevent allergic reactions due to chemotherapy. Is that alright?
Alright.
Also, just a reminder, if you have any maintenance medication for hypertension, diabetes or high cholesterol, you can continue to take them as per normal.
Okay, sure, I will.
Okay. Moving on, I will need about 2 to 3 minutes from you to run through a checklist on your body conditions after the previous chemotherapy treatment. Do you feel nauseous or experience vomiting after your previous chemotherapy session?
Yeah, I feel a bit of nauseous.
No worries. Feeling nausea or vomiting. This is a common side effect caused by chemotherapy and will usually occur 2 to 3 days after your treatment. Try to avoid foods that you think might trigger your nausea, as well as any oily or fried food to prevent indigestion. Please eat food in small but frequent quantities. If you don't feel like eating, make sure you still consume at least high protein or soya milk. If you are diabetic, consume glucosinol or diabetic milk instead. If you are completely unable to tolerate any food or drink intake, make sure you come back to the Gynecological Cancer Center or the emergency clinic in KKH.
Oh, okay, sure, I will.
Next, do you feel any pain or soreness on your body or joints after your last chemotherapy?
I feel like my jaw is a bit hurting.
When you're experiencing body aches and soreness, do you have a fever as well?
No, I don't have fever. It's just like a normal soreness.
Don't worry, this is a side effect caused by chemotherapy. It usually occurs 2 to 3 days after your treatment, and the ache can last up to a week. You should rest and avoid any strenuous activities or exercise that may worsen the aches. You can also take Panadol every 8 hours to help with pain relief.
Okay, sure, I will take note of it. I also having constipation.
Constipation is a common side effect caused by medication to prevent nausea and vomiting after chemotherapy. This medication tends to slow down the movement of the guts, so try to avoid a high fiber diet. Ensure a good amount of fluid intake such as drinking 8 glasses of water every day, and resume some activities like walking. If you didn't open your bowels for more than 1 day, you should start taking the laxatives given to you, and then you can request it from the nurses to stand by some at home.
Oh, okay, sure.
Lastly, do you experience any numbness on your toes or fingertips after your last chemotherapy treatment?
There is some numbness. Is it normal?
Not to worry. Feeling numb on your limbs is a common side effect after chemotherapy. It is due to damage of the nerves by the drugs during chemotherapy and will slowly fade away. However, if the numbness gets worse or you have a problem feeling the floor or grasping a cup, you need to inform the oncologist. Since the numbness will affect your sensation, try to use a cup with a handle or use a kitchen mitten when holding a hot bowl.
I think Ellen,
Also, please put on a slipper at home to prevent stepping directly on objects on the floor.
Ellen, in the interest of time, would you like to cut short the video?
Sure.
And
Okay.
we're actually 6 minutes into the pitch time, which just overrun. Maybe just take the last 30 seconds to kind of sum up what Wiz.AI does with your bot. I mean, what did we just see there? Yeah.
Yep. Sorry. So Yeah, an AI nurse, for what you just witnessed, is actually a patient having a conversation with the AI nurse. So how the AI nurse helps is because patients end up having a better peace of mind because they are able to get feedback on their concerns and then know their health status is actually being monitored by the nurses. And for the nurses, their workload is lessened, but yet they are better able to actually monitor patient health status remotely. Doctors actually get better data and provide better diagnosis and treatments. So, so the deployment of the AI nurse is available on premise. So this ensures patient data is actually secure, and the conversational data is auto-extracted and stored for doctors and nurses use. The aggregated data can actually be analyzed to enable doctors to come up with better treatments and better health policies. So this tech is accessible and definitely fit for purpose for the population segments that needs it the most. So for the underprivileged, it is inexpensive and it works on all mobile devices. For the elderly, the AI nurse offers a warm and caring telehealth service through simple conversation that does not require fumbling on an app. People with disability are better able to focus on getting on with their lives because the bot call can actually be event triggered or time triggered. And they can actually reach the patient via their house line or their mobile line. So we do have it currently in English and Mandarin and Bahasa Indonesia. Thai and Vietnamese will be coming on in early part of next year. So we'll be able to piggyback on the telco's network to actually go regional and solve local problems and customize the talkbot to local medical health needs. We have a strong team with deep expertise and a proven track record of building tech that is used by 100 million daily active users. We are also accredited by the Singapore government's Infocom Media Development Authority, as well as we are partners with IBM and NCS. We are also invested by VC funds whose portfolio companies include the likes of Airbnb, Slack, Alibaba, and TikTok. Currently, we are not looking for investors, but we are looking for healthcare operators that we can actually work with. Right. Thank you.
Thanks, Alan. That was certainly very conversational. You almost feel like you're talking to a real person. Now, a question from Zainu in the chat: Is linguistic and cultural sensitivity already factored into your AI?
Yes. So we do have conversational dialogue designers in various parts of the region of Jakarta and Manila to actually craft the conversation framework that is fit culturally in the country's context.
Right. And any other questions from the crowd? What's the next step in Wiz.Ai's perhaps product development or market rollout?
Right. So our data scientists and researchers are continually enhancing and refining the capabilities and the features of the talkbot. Right. So in terms of our product roadmap, it would be increased analytics and also better automated speech recognition, as well as coming up with like the various languages in the coming part of next year and the year after.
Markets wise, remind us again which languages you're prioritizing, and someone is asking if you're looking at India.
Right. So the languages we are prioritizing right now are Thai and then Vietnamese. So Indonesia, Bahasa Indonesia has recently come online the earlier part of this year. But unfortunately, we are not going into the Indian language because there's no such thing. There is a huge variety of languages in India. That's a big challenge. So from a capability and resource perspective, we have consciously made the decision to not go in there yet.
Right, great. And I think Diraj had the last question about what are the main challenges in refining NLP so far?
Well, with regards to the domain knowledge, that is the biggest challenge, because such as based on the various illness verticals, right, there are key terms and then key medication terms and pronunciations which just witnessed that require a lot of training and a lot of refinement. So we are working to actually improve that. And so far, based on the results we did for chemotherapy monitoring, patient monitoring, the results have been very good. So our accuracy has reached somewhere around the area of slightly over 80% right now.
It's pretty good. So accents aside, which you have conquered, the next thing is really industry-specific jargon training for your machine.
Yep.
Right. Thank you so much again, Alan. And once again, let's have the poll up for Wiz.AI. I think there's a lot more to be explored with Alan and his team, which is rather established in this field. Right. And after this, to prompt everybody, could you also switch on your video cameras? Because right after this, we're going to take a group shot before we release everyone into the breakout rooms. All right. So just everyone get your video cameras ready. We just ask you to smile for a few seconds, and one of our colleagues from AVPN will be taking a few snapshots of all of you. All right. So I think on the AVPN side, are we good? So we're just gonna smile. So we just keep smiling. 1, 2, 3.